Hello yogis! Today's class will be a 30-minute yin yoga for beginners. So this is great if you haven't tried yin yoga before or if you're looking for something a little easier. You don't need any props, but if you have any blocks, those can be helpful to just help support or bring the ground up to you. Or if you have any blankets or pillows you would like to use, that can sometimes be nice to help bring support or help cushion, especially if you're practicing on hard floors. Today we'll get started in a seated forward fold. So find your seat and then just take your legs out in front of you. And you can sit up on a blanket. You can also place a rolled up blanket underneath your knees, especially if your hamstrings are really tight. So get comfortable, sit up nice and tall, maybe take a breath in. And then exhale, start to hinge forward from the waist and just find your natural stopping point. We don't want to be reaching right now. We just want to let gravity do the work for us. So we will be here for a few minutes. The longer you're in the pose, the more you'll find your body just naturally opens up. So once you've found your spot, you can go ahead and round through your spine. Let your head and neck hang heavy and place your hands, palms up beside your leg. If it's comfortable for you, you can go ahead and close your eyes. And if you find that you're restless or it's kind of hard to stay still in the pose, you can try focusing on your breath. Inhale, feeling your belly expand outwards, and exhale, bringing your navel back to the spine. And by bringing the focus back to the breath, sometimes that helps to have something to focus on. Inhale. And then as you exhale, start to slowly roll back upright, letting your head be the last thing that comes up. And just take a breath here. And then make your way onto hands and knees. And then from here, we'll come into Sphinx pose. You'll come all the way onto your belly. And to start, you can just start by taking your arms all the way out in front of you, feet pressing into the floor, and then your forehead can come down to the mat. And if this is enough for you, you can stay right here. Otherwise, you can come into Sphinx by just sliding your elbows back. And anywhere between here and all the way down is perfectly fine, depending on your comfort level today. And so you can just bring your elbows underneath your shoulders if that feels okay on your low back. Press into your knuckles, your palms, and your forearms. Notice if your shoulders are creeping up by your ears. And then tuck your tailbone under. Find a nice gaze between your fingers. And then settle into the pose. We'll be here for a couple more minutes. And so if at any time you feel like it's too painful, especially on your back, just slowly come out of it. And just take your arms, your elbows out farther in front of you until you find a level that's comfortable for your back. Inhale. And then as you exhale, just start to slide your arms back out. And just take a pause here for a moment. Before taking your hands underneath your shoulders, gently press up and back and find a child's pose. So this is another great spot for blankets or pillows. You can have a blanket under your knees or underneath your seat. And you can also place a pillow and fold forward over a pillow here as well. And so if you'd like a bit of a deeper stretch, you can take your knees wide, about as wide as the yoga mat. But you don't have to do that. You can place them as close together as is comfortable. Find what works for you. Inhale and then exhale. Start to walk your arms forward. And it's also nice here to place a block underneath your forehead if your forehead doesn't quite reach the mat. So take a little time to get settled in. Again, we'll be here for a few minutes. And then it might be nice to find a nice bend in your elbows here instead of reaching forwards. And if you'd like to focus on your breath, as you inhale, you can focus on feeling the air expanding the backside body. And exhaling, drawing your navel to spine. Inhale. And then as you exhale, start to gently press yourself back upright, coming back to your tabletop. And then from here, we'll come into a low lunge. So again, you can grab a blanket, place it underneath your knees here, and just take your right foot between your hands. This is a great place for blocks. You can place them on either side of your foot. Or if you don't have blocks, you can use books. Or you can just take your hands up to rest on your leg. And this is one of those poses that can be really intense to hold for a couple minutes. And so either you've gone too deep into the pose, in which case you just want to back out a little bit if you're feeling a lot of sensation, or there's just some sensation and you're used to always being distracted from it. And so in this case, just coming back to your breath might help here. And again, this is a great pose to notice how your body just naturally opens up the longer you're in it. You might find that you start out here, but by the end, you're maybe able to reach the ground a little bit. Or if you start up on your fingertips, maybe you're able to be on a flat palm by the end of it. So that's another thing you can bring your awareness to as well. Inhale, and then exhale, slowly start to press back up out of your lunge, back to your tabletop. Maybe take a moment to notice how the right side feels different from the left side. And then take your left foot between your hands and set up your low lunge on the left side. Inhale. And once again, exhale, and nice and slow, start to make your way out of your lunge. Again, taking a moment in your tabletop and just feeling anything you feel. And then make your way to your seat and come to lay all the way on your back. And from here, we'll come into happy baby. So you can do this one leg at a time if that's more comfortable for you. Or just take both legs into the air, flex your feet, and then bend your knees and bring your feet down towards the floor until your knees are tracking to the outside of your torso. Lengthen your tailbone down towards the floor. And if this is too intense, you can also wrap your arms underneath your knees and just do happy baby this way. That's a little less intense. And if you're doing one leg at a time, go ahead and release and switch to your other side. Inhale. And then exhale, gently release your feet and bring your feet down to the floor. If you need to release, you can just take your knees down to one side and windshield wiper back and forth. And before we get to Shavasana, we'll take a couple of recline twists. Take your arms out wide into a T. Shift your hips over to the left to start, about an inch or so. And then just let your knees fall over to the right. And if you'd like a blanket underneath or between your knees, that can help here. Or a blanket underneath the opposite shoulder. And if you're feeling comfortable, you can go ahead and close your eyes. Inhale. And then as you exhale, bring your knees back up to center. Shift your hips to center as well. And then shift your hips over to the right about an inch or so, and just let both knees fall over to the left. Inhale. And then exhale back up to center. Bring your hips back to center as well. And if you'd like, you can take your knees into your chest and rock gently side to side, or just settle in for your Shavasana. And it might be nice to cover up with a blanket here. If you have any low back pain, if you keep your feet flat on the floor, knees bent, and your knees falling in towards each other, that can help. Or if you take a blanket and roll it up, place it underneath the knees, so there's a slight bend in the knees, that might work as well. Otherwise, lengthen your legs out long, take a nice wide stance, let your feet fall open outwards, and place your hands to rest by your side, palms facing up. And lastly, you can close down the eyes and settle in for your Shavasana. You can stay here in Shavasana longer if you wish. Or you can start to make some movement with your body. Come back to your breath. And roll over to one side. And pause there for a breath or two before nice and gently pressing yourself back up to your seat. And just take a couple breaths here, noticing how you feel. And when you're ready, you can blink your eyes open. Thank you for sharing your practice with me today. I hope it was relaxing and enjoyable.